Hello dear students, today we are going to teach one of the most important topic, that is human health and diseases. In this topic we will discuss number of factors. I have told you in the last class, that is, if you do not know about your health, if you do not know about the disease, then it is very difficult to survive in this living world. You know that I have told you what is health, I have told you the disease, that is which affect the physiology of our body, that interferes the physiology as well as the biochemical aspects of our body. So, in this context we will discuss today regarding the protozoan disease, because you know that the single cell organism, it is only the single cell organism, but you do not know that that single cell organism is causing so much of the effect in human being and the other organisms. So, in this context we will now discuss as per our syllabus, that is two only are there, one is amoebiasis and other is malaria. Okay. So, in this context we will discuss first the amoebiasis. So, what do you mean by amoebiasis? Clear? So, in amoebiasis we will discuss that if a person is suffering from the amoebic dysentery, that means you see that is the blood and the mucus will come along with the fecal matter. Whenever the blood and the fecal matter is coming along with this, so you say that the person is suffering from the amoebiasis. So, you know that amoebiasis is caused by the protozoan parasite. So, what is the name of the protozoan parasite? You can say that the name of the protozoan parasite is Entamoeba histolytica. Clear? So, the protozoan parasite that causes the amoebic dysentery is the Entamoeba histolytica. So, where it is found? So, it is found in the upper part of the large intestine and the lower part of the small intestine. So, I think that the 2 points that I have told you, one is the parasite, that is the causing the disease, that is Entamoeba histolytica. Then second I have told you that the where the parasite lives. So, the parasite lives in the upper part of the large intestine and the lower part of the small intestine. So, these 2 points that you know. So, now I will say that which is the infective stage of this parasite. Clear? Which is the infective stage of this parasite. So, I can say that there are two species of this, one is Entamoeba histolytica, one is Entamoeba gingivalis. In our syllabus we will learn about the Entamoeba histolytica. So, Entamoeba histolytica if we are discussing, then the infective stage is tetranucleate stage. Which is the infective stage? Tetranucleate stage. So, you can say that tetranucleate stage is the infective stage of this parasite. So, today we will discuss about the life cycle of that parasite. So, under this condition I can say that you see that whenever the parasite is feeding the host, so it gradually increases its size and attaining the maximum size. So, this maximum size is called as the trophozoid stage. Okay. So, I can say that this maximum size, that what you find here is the trophozoid stage. So, this is the nucleus, this is the food vacuole, and this stage, name of the stage is trophozoid, or it is also called as the magna form. So, it is the largest form of this parasite. You know that whatever the stage I will draw here in the diagram. So, you see that it is the biggest form. So, that is what I am saying that the trophozoid stage is the feeding stage of the parasite. In this stage it feeds upon the blood, it feeds upon the mucus and increases its size. So, after attaining the maximum size, the parasite will divide by the binary fission. So, what is the type of fission? You say that binary fission. Okay. So, what is the type of fission? You say the binary fission, means the cell, the amoeba, the entamoeba. So, that will divide into form two daughter entamoeba. Okay. But it is not the daughter entamoeba now. You say that it is the smaller size cells and it is called as the minuta. Okay. So, this is you are saying that the minuta stage. So, minuta stage is also called as the pre-cystic form. It is called as the pre-cystic form, and this pre-cystic form is the non-pathogenic stage. Okay. So, in this stage it will come out along with the fecal matter. It will come out along with the fecal matter. So when it will come out along with the fecal matter, it will survive or it will not survive. So it will survive. How? It will survive by forming a cyst around it. It will form a cyst around it. So in this stage you are saying that it is the cystic stage. So this stage you are saying that the cystic stage. Next, in this stage the nucleus divides to form two daughter nuclei, and that is what you are saying the binucleate stage. That is you are saying the binucleate stage. And whenever you are saying that this binucleate stage is there, it will be converted into tetranucleate stage. It will be converted into tetranucleate stage. So we can say that this is the infertility stage. You see that in your slide it is written tetranucleate stage is the infertility stage. So this is the stage that I am saying. Tetranucleate stage is the infertility stage of this parasite. Whenever the parasite will enter into your body in this stage, what will happen? The enzyme is there, trypsin, so that will dissolve this and it will divide further to form the octanucleate stage, and then the tiny amoeba called entamoeba called amoebulae will emerges out. Okay. So this is what you are saying, that the tiny amoeba called amoebulae. So you see that this stage is called the octanucleate stage. Octanucleate stage, and this stage is the infertility stage in case of the Entamoeba gingivalis, but this stage is the infertility stage in case of the Entamoeba histolytica. So clear. So I have told you that the life cycle of the Entamoeba histolytica, what is the effect of this parasite? This parasite causes the amoebic dysentery. So what is that? Amoebic dysentery. So what is amoebic dysentery? The blood and the mucus comes along with the fecal matter. So here you see that it will form a U shape, that is the flask shape ulcer. What is the type of ulcer formed here? So it is forming the flask shaped ulcer. Clear. So flask shaped ulcer is created by this parasite. So what is the name of the enzyme, or how it is caused? It is caused by the enzyme that is called histolysine. Okay. So it is caused by the enzyme that is you are saying the histolysine. So this histolysine will make this, that is the flask shape ulcer. So I have already explained all those things, that is the infertility stage, that is the epidemiology, that is the parasite causing this infection because of this tetranucleate stage. So this tetranucleate stage is the infertility stage in case of the Entamoeba histolytica. I have told you again that Entamoeba gingivalis, it is octanucleate stage. So don't be confused. If it is your syllabus, it is tetranucleate stage, because you are knowing that the Entamoeba histolytica. So Entamoeba histolytica, tetranucleate stage, Entamoeba gingivalis, octanucleate stage. Clear. So then you say that which is the target organ. So target organ is normally you say the intestine, but besides the intestine it can also infect the major part, that is the lungs and all these. Okay. So you are saying that the large intestine is the major target organ. Okay. So large intestine is the major target organ. So what are the symptoms? Okay. So how can you know that you are infected with the amoebiasis? Clear. So the you know that the symptoms includes the ulceration. Ulceration means I have told you that the flask shape ulcer, that is caused by this. So ulceration will be there. Then you say that the acute diarrhea will be there. So diarrhea tendency will be there. The blood and the mucus that is coming along with the fecal matter, so that will be there. And again you see that the mild temperature is there and abdominal pain will be there. So whenever this condition is continuing, the person also feel the nausea. You know that the vomiting as well as the diarrheal tendency. So you know that headache is there. So you are saying that the nausea condition will be there in case of this parasite. So how can you prevent this parasite? So you know that most important thing is proper sanitation. What is that? Proper sanitation. If you could able to sanitize you properly, then you can free from this disease. You know that everyone or every person should be sanitized. So we are reading this topic to maintain our health and the hygienic condition. So you have to maintain your hygienic condition here. So then you are saying that whenever you are taking the food, so try to avoid the contaminated food. You do not know in the market, whenever you are going, you are taking the food. So you try to avoid that the contaminated food. So you try to avoid the contaminated food. Don't take the contaminated food. So, again I am saying that avoid the contaminated food whenever you are taking the fruits from the market. Okay. So, we normally think that it is the readily available, we are taking this, and we people generally take this food material, but always try to wash this food material, wash the vegetables before the use. Okay. So, then you are saying that maintenance of the personal hygienic condition. I have told you repeatedly that maintenance of personal hygienic condition is the most important factor. Clear? Maintenance of the personal hygienic condition is one of the most important condition. Then you know that I have told you again and again that do not take the medicine, do not take the medicine without the proper prescription. But however, we can say that the number of medicines are there that what can be taken by the counseling with the physician. So, you consult with the physician and take the medicine, and those medicines that you know that, for example, you are abscesses in the alimentary canal or the lungs, in that case you cannot take only the tinazole or like that. So, that is what I am saying, that always take the medicine consulting with the doctor. For example, you are taking the emetine, no problem. For example, you are taking the chloroquine. So, under this condition you are saying that if you are taking the chloroquine, so you say that there must be the wound, there must be the ulcer, there must be the abscesses. Under this condition you have to take the chloroquine, because you know that chloroquine is the medicine that is used in the malaria. So, how I can take this? So, that is what I am saying, that whenever you are suffering from the any disease, do not take the medicine without proper prescription. Okay. So, you see that here that the hygienic condition, how to maintain the hygienic condition, and how you see that small bacteria in the slide, you can see that the small bacteria are there, small protozoans are there, and the microorganisms are there. So, we do not know that when the microorganism will enter into our body, it may be the protozoa, it may be the bacteria. So, like that. So, utmost care should be taken before you are drinking the water, before the sanitization. You know that after sanitization you can do all those things. Clear? So, next we will discuss about another oldest disease. So, we are saying that the malaria. So, dear students, you know that Alexander the Great, who was the greatest emperor and has the desire to win all the states. So, under this condition, so one disease, that is malaria, which caused his failure. Otherwise, you see that Alexander can own many empire. So, he is the greatest emperor. So, you see that emperor, even if the desire to conquer the different states, but could not able to conquer the disease. So, what was that disease? So, that disease is nothing but the malaria. So, you say that malaria, what is that malaria? Mala means bad, area means air. So, you just combine this, what is that? Malaria means bad air. So, whenever the bad air is coming from the swampy and marshy places, clear? Whenever the bad air is coming from the swampy and marshy places, so that causes the malaria. So, this was the concept, earlier concept that was there with the many scientists before the discovery of this parasite. So, what was the name of this parasite? So, name of this parasite was the Plasmodium. So, you know that the Plasmodium is the genus, Plasmodium is the genus, and that Plasmodium was first discovered by the scientist called Charles Lavaran, CHARLES, Charles Lavaran, LAVERN. So, you know that Charles Lavaran is the scientist who discovered the malaria parasite. Clear? So, in this context I can say that there are 4 parasites, 4 protozoan parasite. How many are there? 4 protozoan parasite that you have to remember. One, I am saying that the Plasmodium malariae. Second, I am saying that the Plasmodium ovale. Third, I am saying that the Plasmodium vivax, and fourth, I am saying that is the Plasmodium falciparum. Please remember that I am saying that 4 parasite, that is Plasmodium malariae, Plasmodium ovale, Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium falciparum. So, all those 4 parasites are causing the malaria. Clear? So, whenever I am saying that those parasites, so you see that those parasites are causing the disease. So, what are the diseases that is caused by the parasite? So, I am saying that you see that Plasmodium malariae, I am saying, is causing the disorder that is called the mild tertian. So, I am saying that first I am saying Plasmodium ovale, Plasmodium malariae, then Plasmodium vivax, then Plasmodium falciparum. So, why I am writing in this sequence I will say you later. Okay. So, Plasmodium ovale, Plasmodium malariae, Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium falciparum. So, you say that it is causing the disorder, that is mild tertian. This is causing the disorder, that is called the quartan malaria. Okay. This is causing the disorder, that is called the benign tertian. Benign tertian. So, this is causing the disorder, that is called the subtertian. So, I will say why I have told in this sequence. Okay. So, you just remember that Odisha medical very favorite, many questions based standard. Clear? Odisha medical very favorite, many questions based standard. So, you see this beginning letter and remember the disease, that is also the beginning letter, that is Odisha medical very favorite, many questions based standard. So, as you know that I have discussed earlier that there are 4 parasites. How many parasites? 4 parasites. What are they? Plasmodium ovale, Plasmodium malariae, Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium falciparum. How many parasites? 4 parasites. What are the diseases caused by them? So, we have told that mild tertian, quartan malaria, benign tertian and subtertian. So, in this regard I have told you that you just remember one sentence. What is that sentence I have told? Odisha medical very favorite, many questions based standard. Okay. So, that I have told you, again I am showing this, that is Odisha medical very favorite. So, beginning letter is O, beginning letter is M, beginning letter is V, beginning letter is F. Odisha medical very favorite. Okay. So, many questions based standard, many questions based standard. So, I am saying that Odisha medical very favorite, many questions based standard. Clear? So, that means whenever you have remember the name of the parasite and the name of the diseases, so just remember once. Okay. Just remember once the name of the parasite, name of the diseases. Then you just remember Odisha medical very favorite, many questions based standard. So, under this condition you can explain it, no problem. I think it is clear that how to remember the name of the parasite and the name of the diseases. So, whenever the parasite is there, for example, you say the Plasmodium falciparum. So, I have not told you the other names. So, I will told you the other names also. It is the with the various number of names, but it is for our formula for easy of the students, you know that how to take the students or how the students could able to receive this quickly. So, for that I have formulated this formula. So, you can remember that formula, so that you can remember the name of the parasites and the diseases. So, how a person could be easily detected or the person could able to detect the malaria. So, that is we are saying the diagnosis, that is we are saying the diagnosis. So, there are 2 methods normally we are following. One is RDT, that is you are saying rapid diagnostic test, RDT, rapid diagnostic test. Other you are saying that is the laboratory blood test. So, this is a routine test that you are taking the blood sample and finding it under the microscope, that is you are saying that the rapid diagnostic test or the laboratory blood test. Clear? Then the question is there, why the female Anopheles mosquito is the vector, not the male? So, sometimes you say, sir, why I will not be the vector? Yes, that should be the question in your mind, because you know that vector means which transmit the disease. So, you say that parasite is there with me and it is transported to the mosquito. So, why I will not be the vector? If the question is like this, then I have to justify what is the character of the vector. In the last class also we have discussed regarding the introduction that what is vector, that means which is transmitting the parasite from one host to the other host. So, first thing is why you are not the vector, because you know that in the malaria parasite you are also suffering from this and the parasite is within you, why not you be considered as a vector? So, for this I am saying 4 points, please remember I am saying 4 points. What are they? One is acceptor, means it will accept this parasite. Second is receptor, that means it has certain site, so that it could able to grow, so that is a receptor. Third, you are saying that the retention, it can retain, it can retain the parasite. So, that is what you are saying, the retention. And the last I am saying that the multiplier, it can multiply. So, it is considered to be a parasite, it is considered to be a host. So, you know that parasite means it is causing the disease, but it is not causing the disease. So, malaria is not caused by the female Anopheles mosquito. So, it is not causing the disease. So, what is this? It is causing multiplying the parasite, it is providing the suitable host to the parasite. It is have the receptor, it have the receptor for the parasite, it can accept the parasite. So, we are saying that it has 4 character, any vector has 4 character. What are they? Acceptor, receptor, retensor and the multiplier. So, these 4 character that you remember, that is the character due to which you can say that it is a vector. Clear? So, now we are saying that the female Anopheles mosquito, okay? We are saying that the female Anopheles mosquito is a vector. Why not the male? The question will be there. Why the female Anopheles mosquito is considered as a vector? Why not the male? So, I have told you that these points should be satisfied: acceptor, receptor, retentioner and the multiplier. So, those 4 points should be satisfied for the vector. But in case of the male Anopheles mosquito, it does not have the sucking part, it does not have the mouth sucking part. So, you know that in case of the female Anopheles mosquito, it has the piercing and sucking mouth part, but in case of the male, it does not have the piercing and sucking mouth part. So, as a result of which what will happen? So, it is not considered, the first point it is rejected, it is not at all sucking the blood of the infected person. So, we are not saying that this is a vector and this is not at all related with the human being, because that is frugivorous and sucking the nectars. Okay? So, it is sucking the nectars of the flowers. So, in this condition it is neither satisfying the acceptor, nor the receptor, nor the retentioner, nor the multiplier. So, hence, the male Anopheles mosquito is not a vector. Clear? So, now we are saying that why the female Anopheles mosquito sucking the blood. So, the female Anopheles mosquito is sucking the blood because it requires the serum albumin. Please remember, it requires the serum albumin. What is the requirement? Serum albumin. Why? For the blood, from the blood it will take for the fertilized egg. So, whatever the growth of the fertilized egg is required, so that requires the serum albumin. So, the fertilized egg requires the serum albumin. So, in this condition what will happen? It will take the blood, so that the blood will get the serum albumin, so that the fertilized egg will get the serum albumin, and that will help in completing the growth. So, that is what we are saying, that the female Anopheles mosquito is sucking the blood. Next, why and how the female Anopheles mosquito is attracted by the human body. So, how the female Anopheles mosquito could able to know that here is the human being. So, please remember, these are the 3 important points. I am saying that the first, the release of carbon dioxide. Whenever a person is sleeping or whether the person is sitting, at that time the carbon dioxide is released. So, that carbon dioxide attract this, number 1. Number 2, human being is a warm blooded animal. So, human being is a warm blooded animal. So, as a result of which what will happen? So, this attracts this parasite because it requires the sucking the blood from the warm blooded animal. Okay? Then another thing, that is pheromones. Please remember, another is pheromones. So, pheromones, what are pheromones? So, pheromones are the pheromones. Pheromones are the pheromones which is required for the parasite. So, you know that the pheromone is secreted through the sweat, and this attracts the female Anopheles mosquito. Clear? So, my point is how the female Anopheles mosquito is attracted. So, you see that the female Anopheles mosquito is attracted because of the carbon dioxide, because of the body temperature, because of the pheromone. So, those 3 points that I have told you, you remember that this is how the parasite, or you say the female Anopheles mosquito is attracted by the parasite. So, then you are saying that the life cycle, you know that the Entamoeba histolytica you have discussed is the monogenetic parasite. Here we are saying that it is digenetic parasite. So, what do you mean by digenetic parasite? when the parasite completes its life cycle in two hosts. When the parasite completes its life cycle in two hosts. So, you say that it is digenetic parasite, clear. So, digenetic parasite means the parasite complete its life cycle in two hosts. So, you know that two host means one will be the primary host, other will be the secondary host, clear. So, when you are saying that the two hosts, so one would be the primary host, other would be the secondary host. So, then which one will be the primary host, which one will be the secondary host. So, there is always a confusion, there is always a confusion. So, sometimes you see that in book it is written that the primary host is human being, again you see that it is written that the primary host is mosquito. So, under this condition what you can do? So, you remember that the primary host and the secondary host can be said on the basis the clinically or biologically. If you say clinically, then the primary host is human being. If you say the biologically, you say the primary host is mosquito, clear. So, I am saying that whenever you are saying the clinically, it is the human being, whenever you are saying the biologically, it is the mosquito, female Anopheles mosquito. So, you know that whenever the Alexander the Great was the owner of the greatest emperor, you are saying in this condition he has to surrender before this disease. So, we will discuss that disease in detail. So, the life cycle of this parasite is digenetic. What do you mean by digenetic? Means it completes its life cycle in two hosts. So, one is the primary host, other is the secondary host. So, there is always a confusion in the books regarding the primary host and the secondary host. So, sometimes you see that in some books it is written that the human being is the primary host. In some book you see that it is written that the mosquito is the primary host. So, under this condition a student is confused which one is correct. So, go through that please. It is written whether clinically or biologically. If it is written clinically, then the primary host is human being. If it is written that biologically, then it is mosquito. Why? In the mosquito the sexual cycle is completed. So, biologically we called the primary host is that host where the sexual cycle is completed. But whenever you are saying the clinically, so that case you are saying that pathogenicity, where it is causing the disease, where it is causing the disease, which one is the main host. So, now we are saying clinically the human being is the primary host where the asexual cycle is completed, and the biologically we are saying that the human being is the secondary host, because here the asexual cycle is there. But whenever you are saying that the primary host is the mosquito, under this condition you say that here the sexual cycle is completed. So, normally the pathogenicity determines the clinical aspect, and the cycle, that is asexual or sexual. So, that determine the host, that is the biological host. So, here we are saying the clinical and the biological aspect. So, now we will study about the asexual cycle, that is asexual cycle of the parasite. Here is the diagram of the asexual cycle of the parasite. You see in the diagram, that is the three parts are there. First part is called as the pre-erythrocytic cycle, second part is called as the exoerythrocytic cycle, and the third part is called erythrocytic cycle. So, whenever we are discussing the pre-erythrocytic and exoerythrocytic cycle, so these two cycle takes place in the liver. So, asexual cycle is otherwise called as schizogony. So, that is why you can say that schizogony in the liver cell. So, in the liver cell we are saying about the pre-erythrocytic cycle, we are also saying about the exoerythrocytic cycle, and here we are saying about the erythrocytic cycle. Here we are saying about the erythrocytic cycle. As you know, erythrocyte means RBC. So, here the cycle takes place in the RBC. Whatever the changes that is taking place, that is in the RBC. Here whatever the changes will take place, that is in the liver cell. So, now we will discuss about this. So, here you find that this sporozoite. So, what is sporozoite? So, sporozoite is the infective stage of the parasite. You see that this was the previous year entrance question. So, you find that the previous year questions, if you go through, then you find that which is the ineffective stage. So, answer is the sporozoite. So, sporozoite is the ineffective stage of the parasite, and this parasite whenever enters into the host body, we find that this parasite will change its shape and size and become the rounded, and it is called as the schizoid stage. Okay? What is that? Schizoid stage. Then the nucleus of the schizoid divides and redivides and form the merozoites. Okay? So, you see that here the large number of merozoites or the cryptozoites are formed. So, due to their excess number, the wall of the liver cell burst, and that result the release of the merozoite. So, here the merozoites that are formed or the cryptozoites that are formed, you see that some are smaller in size and some are larger in size. The smaller can attack the RBC, but the larger can attack the again the liver cell. So, please remember that in case of Plasmodium falciparum, this cycle is not there. So, that means whatever I have told you, Plasmodium ovale, Plasmodium malariae, Plasmodium vivax. So, this cycle is there, that is the exoerythrocyte cycle is there, but in case of Plasmodium falciparum, no exoerythrocytic cycle. Then another question is there. So, what is that question? That is, in which stage the malaria drugs are not effective or not affected, or you say that whenever the question is there, that in which stage the malaria drugs, that if a person is taking the malaria drugs, it is not effective. So, you say that if the person is in this stage, that is the pre-erythrocytic, exoerythrocytic or the post-erythrocytic. So, these three stages the malaria drug will not be effective. So, please remember this case. Then I will show you all the cases, and I will say regarding that how the parasite is infecting one by one. So, you see that first in the liver cell, in the similar manner it will also multiply in the liver cell again. Then you see that the merozoites when enter into the RBC, in the RBC it becomes rounded and it is called as the schizoid. Similarly, whenever it is rounded inside the RBC, it is also called as the schizoid, and the stage is called as the trophozoite stage. The stage is called as the trophozoite stage. So, there are number, you know the trophozoite stage, it is the feeding stage of the parasite. So, here there are number of changes appears. First you see that a non-contractile vacuole appears, which appears the shape of a ring, that is called as the signet ring. You see that in the diagram, it is signet ring stage. Then you say again this parasite changes its shape, that is becoming the amoeba-like structure, and is called as the amoeboid stage. So, the amoeboid stage actually is the feeding stage where it feeds upon the hemoglobin. Okay? It feeds upon the hemoglobin and convert it into hematine and amino acid. So, this hematine is converted into a black toxic substance called as the hemozoin. So, we will discuss that what is the effect of the hemozoin. So, this hematine when converted into hemozoin, so we will discuss that when the hemozoin will reach the blood, so the person will suffer from chills and shivering. So, now we are saying that here you find that the hematine is formed. Why? Because it is feeding upon the hemoglobin present in the blood. So, then we are saying that this parasite then gradually increases its size with the appearance of a number of dots like structure called as the Schaffner dot. Okay? So, I will say that Schaffner dot is not the only dot, there are number of dots are there. So, according to the parasite, you see the Jayman's dot is found in the Plasmodium malariae. So, for example, you say Morse dot, it is found in the Plasmodium falciparum, but in case of the Plasmodium vivax and in case of the Plasmodium ovale, you find this parasite, that is this dot, that is the Schaffner dot. Then again you see that the parasite gradually increases and cover the whole RBC. When it covers the whole RBC, the nucleus divides and redivides with the formation of merozoites, with the formation of merozoites. So, how the merozoites will be formed, how they will be arranged? So, you see there the merozoites will arrange like the petals of rose. The merozoites are arranged like the petals of the rose. So, this stage is called as the rosette stage. Why it is called rosette stage? Because the parasite here formed are arranged like the petals of the rose. So, that is why we are saying that it is rosette stage, clear. So, in this stage you find that a large number of merozoites are formed within a single RBC. So, what happened? So, the RBC will burst. So, when the RBC will burst, the merozoites will be released. So, some of the merozoites will again infect the new RBC. Here you see that in the diagram I have already told, this is the not the old RBC. So, this is the new RBC. Okay. So, this new RBC and continue the cycle, and that cycle is called as the erythrocytic cycle. That cycle is called as the erythrocytic cycle. Again I am saying, whenever this parasite is not infecting the new RBC and is not continuing further. So, what will be the fate of those RBC? So, you see that those RBC will be rounded, because human being is warm blooded animal. So, human being is warm blooded animal, it could not able to tolerate this temperature. So, it will form the cyst around it. It will form the cyst, means covering around it, and then there you see that they are not of the similar size, some are smaller, some are larger. So, under this condition what will you say? You say that the smaller is called as the microgametocyte. You see there, the smaller is called as the microgametocyte, and what is the larger one? Larger one is called as the macrogametocyte, and this stage is called as the post erythrocytic cycle. So, now we have discussed about the pre-erythrocytic cycle, about the exoerythrocytic cycle, about the erythrocytic cycle and the post erythrocytic cycle. So, in this condition we have mentioned that the anti-malaria drugs is not effective in which stage? That is the pre, exo and the post erythrocytic cycle. Then when will a person suffer from chills and shivering? So, answer is whenever the gametocytes are released. So, during that time also you see that in the rosette stage, when the RBC burst, the hemojoins are released. So, those hemojoins when released along with the blood circulation, so you see that the person will suffer from chills and shivering. So, that is what you say, that the symptoms. So, now we will say regarding the symptoms. You know that the parasite is attacking the liver, you know that the parasite is attacking the RBC. So, the target organs are the liver and the RBC. But whenever we are discussing about the symptom, so you must have come across the malaria. You see that whenever the malaria starts, it starts with the rigor. Rigor means chills and shivering, and you see that febrile, you see that high temperature will be there, the person will suffer with the high temperature. So, that is what you say is the febrile stage. Next you are saying that the defervescence. So, defervescence means, so you see the person will be with the profuse sweating. So, after the high temperature, the person will be with the profuse sweating. So, it will continue for some times, and after that you see that the temperature subsides and the person feels as usual normal. So, now I am saying the symptoms in 3 points, that is rigor, that is febrile, that is defervescence. So, what is rigor? Rigor means chills and shivering. What is febrile? You say the high temperature. Other symptoms are also there, high temperature. Then what is defervescence? Profuse sweating. So, if these symptoms are there, then you think that it is malaria. Then you think that it is malaria, because people do not know about that previously, as a result of which a large number of people they suffer the death due to the malaria. So, I have told you that whenever you are suffering by the malaria, so what is to be there? So, you have to diagnose the blood, that is you know the blood test, and I have told you the RDT, and after that the malaria should be confirmed, rapid diagnosis test. So, if the rapid diagnosis test the malaria is diagnosed, then you say that you have to go for the treatment. So, treatment must be done with the advice of the physician. I am always saying that do not take the medicines from the quacks. Although you know the medicines, before taking the medicine you should consult the physical, you know that the physicians. So, you have to consult the physicians, because the physicians are the real persons who can give you the proper medicine. Okay. So, now you know the remember the different types of the medicine that you know. Here I am saying one of the, you see that I have given here the name of the parasite, name of the disease and the incubation period, and in what difference hours. So, you say that the disease is reoccurring. So, that is reoccurrence. So, I am saying recurrence. So, recurrence of the disease. So, that is what I have told you, what I have already given in the slide. You see that you have to remember this, that this parasite is with the incubation period these days, this parasite has the recurrence of the fever in these hours. Okay. So, I am saying in days and in the hours. So, one thing please remember that out of these four parasites, that is shown in the slide, you see that most important is the Plasmodium falciparum. Why? Because this parasite causes the maximum death. You know that in the tropical parts, the most of the people, they die by the cerebral malaria. They die by cerebral malaria, or you are saying the brain malaria. So, that is what I am saying here. You see the last, the Plasmodium falciparum, last you see the Plasmodium falciparum, that is, you see that this parasite, this disease, you are saying that it is causing the most dangerous type, because the death rate is high. So, it is most dangerous. So, you say that this malaria is the brain malaria, this malaria is the cerebral malaria, this malaria is the tropical malaria, this malaria is subtertian malaria, this malaria is malignant tertian malaria, this malaria is also called as the estivoimmunomalaria. So, that is why you say that Plasmodium falciparum is the most dangerous, which is also called as the black water fever. Then the point arises, what is incubation period? So, please remember incubation period and the pre-patent period. Okay. So, incubation period means the entry of the parasite till the first appearance of the disease symptom. Entry of a parasite till the first appearance of the disease symptom. For example, I am saying here the sporozoite, you see here sporozoite is entering and the disease occur when the RBC burst. So, that period you are saying is the incubation period. Then I am saying about the pre-patent period. So, what is pre-patent period? So, pre-patent period means the entry of the parasite till the first appearance of the disease symptom. So, now I think all of you are clear regarding the asexual cycle. So, asexual cycle that I have told you, every line is one of the important short question, every line. So, please remember every point that I am saying. So, go through this clearly. I hope that if you remember this diagram, you can answer many questions, and this is the table that I have given you in the slide. So, you go through that, you can remember the incubation period and the recurrence of the fever and the name of the parasite, name of the disease. So, whenever we are saying the disease that is occurring, so what are the dots that is occurring in the life cycle? So, those points that you see that whatever the disease till yet we have studied. So, one of the most important disease is the malaria parasite, where every line is important, every line that I am saying is important, every line or each line you are saying, I am saying that it may come in the entrance examination or in the board exam. So, that is why you take utmost care regarding this. Okay. So, now I am saying about the prevention. What is that? Prevention. You know that prevention you are saying is a prophylaxis. So, first and most important thing, that how the mosquito will not infect you, how the mosquito will not bite you. So, we will take the first method. So, how it will be there? So, any layman can say that use the mosquito net, use the mosquito net and save from the mosquitoes, because we do not see the parasite, we can see the mosquito. Okay. So, this mosquito, if you prevent the mosquito by the mosquito net, so thing can be solved. Another thing, that is, you know that you are not acquainted or accustomed with the mosquito net, then how you could able to sleep? So, under this condition, so you use the wire gauge or the gauge that is in the doors and windows. So, as a result of which that could able to prevent the mosquito. Then the mosquito repellent creams that can be used in the open part whenever you are reading. So, at that time you use the mosquito repellent creams, so that you can prevent from the mosquito. Then you know that spraying of the DDT, spraying of the kerosene in the stagnant water. So, what is the effect of the DDT? So, whenever you are spraying the DDT in the walls, whenever you are spraying the DDT in the walls, you see that, for example, there is a cow shed. So, you are spraying the DDT there. So, whenever you are spraying the DDT, what happened actually, the mosquito whatever is there, they will be killed. Whenever you are spraying the DDT, it is the effect. Whenever you are saying the kerosene, you see that in Cuttack, Bhubaneswar and the wherever the drains are there, wherever the drains are there. So, you see that those drains, in those drains we are spraying the kerosene oil. So, why the kerosene oil? So, kerosene oil is sprayed Because not to kill the mosquito, not to kill the mosquito, then what for? It is to kill the larva, it is to kill the mosquito larva. So, whatever the larva is formed in the stagnant water, so in that stagnant water, whenever we will spray the kerosene, they will die out of the aspiration, they could not able to breathe, so they will die. And you know that mosquito has a short lifespan. So, if the larva will be killed, so then what will be there? So, ultimately the mosquito population will decrease. Then another thing, if you see the big cities or the metro cities, so under this condition you can see that whenever the metro cities are there the larvivorous fish are introduced. Larvivorous fish are introduced. You know that the larvivorous fish like Gambusia. So, Gambusia is one of the exotic fish, it is introduced in the drains. So, that will kill, that will feeds upon the larva of the mosquito. So, that will also help in controlling the mosquito population. Another you know the Utricularia plant, that is a carnivorous plant. So, this is also used for controlling the mosquito population. That is what you are saying, that the biological control of the mosquito, because we peoples are controlling by the chemical, but we do not know about the biological control. So, biological control of the mosquito is also one of the important part which should be taken care. Another important thing you know, that wherever the drains or the swampy and the marshy places are there, so fill it with the sand, fill it with the sand, so that we could able to control the mosquito as well as the mosquito population. Now, yes, the scientists are discovered another new technique. So, how they will induce the sterility in the male. So, the chemicals will be induced, so that will induce the sterility in the male. So, when the male will be sterile, what will be there? Automatically the population will decrease, because the sterile male could not able to fertilize the female. So, no copulation, no offspring, nothing. So, that is why you are saying that now the scientists are inventing the new technique, that is the to induce the sterility in the male. So, you know that previously we have one, there is in the slide you see that there is the NMCP, it is written there, you see, that is the National Malaria Control Program. So, this was initiated in the year 1953. So, in the year 1953 there was a program, that is you are saying the National Malaria Control Program, but you know that this program is changed to National Malaria Eradication Program. Please remember, NMCP and NMEP both are related with the malaria. One is NMCP, that is National Malaria Control Program, and that was initiated in the 1953, and National Malaria Eradication Program NMEP, it is written there in the slide. So, you see in the slide, that is NMCP and NMEP, please remember the abbreviation. So, it is one of the important thing also. So, NMCP is for control and NMEP for eradication. Eradication means, so now the program is not for control, totally eradicate the malaria. So, the steps are being taken. So, how to eradicate? So, I have told you the biological control, I have told you the chemical control. So, all these. So, now in the area, that is whatever we have told, that some area where the peoples are not at all aware of these things. So, under this condition we have to go for chemoprophylaxis. So, chemoprophylaxis, what is that? Taking a little dose of the quinine in the malaria prone area. For example, you say the tropical parts. In the tropical parts where the mosquitoes are there and the peoples are not aware of the mosquito, not aware of the malaria. So, under this condition what we will do? So, under the normal ration system, so PDS system, you know that there also the chemoprophylaxis is done. Chemoprophylaxis means small dose of the chemical is given to those persons. So, like that of the rice you are giving, like that of the kerosene that you are giving. So, you are also giving this, that is the small dose of the chemical. So, they will feed this, they do not know that we are giving this for the treatment, otherwise they may not take this. So, they will take this, as a result of which we can control the malaria. So, this method you are saying is the chemoprophylaxis. So, also you know that another important thing is there in that area. What is there? You see that one important thing, that the government is providing the mosquito net, clear, and that mosquito net, what happened, sometimes what happened, the people, those who are inside the nest, inside the mosquito net, they will roll in the night and they will go in some other place. So, as a result of which the mosquito come and bite. Okay. So, here what is there? So, the mosquito net whatever is given, so those mosquito net are the repellent type, those mosquito nets are the repellent type. So, as a result of which you see that what will happen, the mosquito will not come to that part, clear. So, now this is about the symptoms and all this. So, we have discussed about the asexual cycle. Similarly, another part of the cycle is there, and that is you are saying the sexual cycle. So, if we go to the sexual cycle of the mosquito, so we find that the sexual cycle of the mosquito is there. In case of the mosquito, you find that whenever the sexual cycle is there, we find that this is entering into the mosquito through the mosquito bite. You know that if the mosquito is other than the female Anopheles mosquito, so it will be digested. So, for example, the mosquito is taking this gametocyte, that is the larger as well as the smaller gametocyte. If the mosquito is taking the larger as well as the smaller gametocyte, you see that inside the mosquito stomach you find that this will be turned into gamete, not the cyst will not be there. So, here the cyst will not be there. So, it will be called as the microgamete and the macrogamete. So, it is called as the microgamete and the macrogamete. So, this is called as the microgametocyte. This is called as the microgametocyte and this is called as the macrogametocyte. Larger one is called as the macro and the smaller one is called micro. So, this is what you say, the microgametocyte and the macrogametocyte. But after the action of the enzyme in the elementary kernel, you find that the cyst wall will be dissolved and it is called as the microgamete and the macrogamete. So, there are number of changes takes place in the microgamete as well as the macrogamete. Okay. So, here you see that this microgamete will form the numbers, that is the microgametes, and here you see that the cone like structure is formed and that is called the cone for reception, cone for reception, cone for reception. So, after that you see that it will form the zygote and this zygote you are saying is the ookinete. So, this is what you say the sexual cycle is there, because the gametes are involved and the zygote is formed. The gametes are involved and the zygotes are formed. So, whenever the gametes are involved, we are saying the sexual cycle. So, here you see that the sexual cycle is there and the zygote which is formed, that is you are saying the worm like structure, it is called ookinete or vermicule because of the worm like appearance. So, now you know about the sexual cycle, now you know about the asexual cycle. The sexual cycle will continue. So, as a result of which you see that the mosquito and the human being both are related and those are related through the plasmodium. So, thank you. So, we will again meet in the coming class.